Mr.Piset Rittapirom, Cluster Manager, Maersk Thailand, to share his view on the topic that COVID-19, logistic challenge and opportunity. Good afternoon, Mr. Piset.
ครับสวัสดีครับคุณบัญชาครับ
สวัสดีครับคุณพิเศษครับ So do you hear me?
Yeah, well, pretty clear.
Thank you so much. So I give you the floor, please.
ครับ thank you very much. I have attended yesterday's session as well, and many of the topics that we have heard about, and also have put questions to the speakers. I think all in all boils down to the container business that we're going to be talking about right just now. So just an overview. Just an overview. Let me click my slide. We started off that I'm not sure that all of us know whether 80% of goods actually consumed globally moved in containers. When you look around yourself, all the products being used on a daily basis and raw materials or finished goods actually have been or were moved in containers. So during the crisis, all of these containers shortage seems to be one of the very obvious topic that we have heard about in the past 10 or 12 months. And of course, shipping lines being on a hot seat, being questioned by everyone, also authorities and all stakeholders. But this means that 80% of the goods also create a lot of documents, create a lot of transactions, and generated this and being exchanged globally probably in every second. And what we have experienced, and since 2019, when we look back, on the slide here, I want to show you what you can see that there's a huge drop at the beginning of 2020 when we first heard about COVID-19, and then that's because the largest production machine, which is located in China, got hit hard, and also consumer globally also put their demand on hold. And then a few months later on, you see a huge surge and also a change of consumption, which we still experience it until now. So what we have put in conclusion, what had happened in the past 12 months was that the demand actually has outpaced supply since late Q3 in 2020. And we expect that this will continue also until 2022. And we also see a change of consumer behavior, types of goods being imported into the United States, into America, into Europe, also have changed a lot based on the fact that people spend more time at home rather than in the office or on the outdoor doing something else, right? So this is something that we also see it happening again this year. We have seen the customers in Europe and America placing big booking on their goods and out of China and many places in Asia, and then a lot of it actually on water, and there's still some backlog right now at the origins and some transit port. So this is actually what happening and unprecedented, that no one really, even a shipping veteran who have been working in the industry for more than 20 or 30 years, that never expect that this will happen. And the consequences is that after the major crisis in the shipping business 7 years ago, when one company called Hanjin went bankrupt, the industry itself has decided to reduce the supply without knowing that the pandemic will happen one day. And what happened last year, a year ago, that because of the no new order, a limited order of new new building of the ships, while actually we have experienced the demand surge. So, and these 30% a number on the left-hand side on the graph, just show that suddenly the demand just hike up by 30%, hitting the threshold that cannot be catered by or accommodated by the tonnage available in the market. And also the fact that because the new IMO rules on the low sulfur bunker, that some part of the fleet then has to be taken out for improvement to be able to handle these low sulfur measures, and also some of the very old ship have been put for scrap. Okay. And what on the left hand, just to show you that what happened since 2019, that since the Chinese New Year, when we were hit by COVID, the industry decided to do a blank sailing, which means they will put ships somewhere else at Anchorage because there's no demand back then. So a lot of ships were put into many places waiting for the recovery. But then suddenly, 3 or 6 months afterwards, seems to be some obvious recovery on the consumption. And also because the backlog of the order, not only from the demand itself, also the production itself being pushed out and starting out by the end of second quarter last year. And these continue until now. So the 30% on the left hand, and actually it's will continue more or less the same curve. And in Thailand case, what we have noticed this year, we have seen that the export volume in terms of containers out of Thailand actually have surpassed the highest month of the 2018. So what does it mean? It means in terms of from shipping line perspective, these actually shows that there's a growth in terms of export in containers, starting to be more and more obvious, and we believe this trend will continue until next year. So that's pretty much that what happened that I want to illustrate since late 2019 and continue until now. The challenge that what we have observed, and I think it's also very very clear to everyone on the earth that we are facing major container shortage, primarily from being absorbed or being stuck, containers stuck in North America because of COVID in particular, where laborers, truck drivers, and warehouse and workers need to take turn into attending work. So it has a mountain high of containers being piled up in the United States and have a long waiting time. And suddenly there's still very strong demand. And that because some country actually start to recover, and also in China recover faster than anybody else. So we see that both demand pull and supply push out of China that make container shortage even severe in some of the week. And these logistic workforce and availability because of illness and happening in all segments, not only in logistics and industry, but also with other customers. It happens to different levels of workers and different roles in shipping companies, happens to ports and taking turns from country to another. We see that some port has to suspend work because of reported COVID case. And we see also waiting time because of some port could not accommodate more ships. So these logistic workforce unavailability will continue until next year. In Thailand in particular now, we start to see some of the customer ask for a vaccine and certificate from truck drivers or some test results from EATK, which is make things even more complicated. We see some of the office closed down because the landlord would not allow staff to go in the office after the landlord heard that some staff in the shipping company got infected with COVID case. So this kind of chaos happens everywhere. Even though we see slight improvement right now in some of the area in Bangkok, but we believe this will continue for months. The next one, which is also very serious, is we keep seeing long waiting time at the key ports, and see some backlog of cargo. That's particularly in China, where some of the ports authority decided to close down the port or close an acceptance of certain kind of containers. Some of the ports decided not to accept the reefer boxes. Some of the ports decide not to run the barge because there's a huge backlog at the port. So this one keep haunting us still now. And the typhoon, that's it comes on a yearly basis, right? And will just complicate things further this year, because we haven't really come to a decision yet. Because usually during in Q3 or Q4, north of Asia and Trans-Pacific will be hit hard by typhoon, and that will make the schedule of the vessels even more complicated. Okay? So what we have seen, the challenge that schedule reliability of the shipping globally, probably you can say it is this the worst time ever, and some of the shipping line reported only less than 20% of their ships that call on time. Okay? So it means that 80% of the rest of the fleet would not be on time, and that's caused a lot of problems to supply chain. Okay? Another one that we found, it's a big challenge because of COVID. Traditional logistic documents become a hindrance to the trade. We heard about in blockchain earlier from previous sessions. So these traditional logistic documents, traditional trade documents, become a hindrance. Some of the transactions like BL cylindering, DO exchanging with the documents become more difficult. It takes in some of the places takes 2 or 3 days in order to get one piece of paper, which also costs more than 30% of a longer lead time from the usual. Another stunning challenge is that the legacy system that we have had in shipping industry for many years, some of these systems have been with us for more than 20 years, cannot cope with large-scale work from home. Initially, when we need to ask the staff to work from home, we have a huge problem of bandwidth, Wi-Fi, VPN, and not all the company has the same IT capability. So, over the times, there will be a lot of improvement or development needed for this part, and I foresee that this one we need a replacement within years to come. And last but not least, in terms of challenge, and from my view, that's what I believe is that not everyone in the shipping industry, in the ecosystem, has a contingency mindset. We have seen a different level or degrees how people respond to the pandemic, how the people respond to the workaround and respond to in all these kind of contingency. This is a wake-up call for everyone in the future that if these ever happen again in one shape or form, preparation it has to be there, because everyone's working in the same ecosystem. If one of the stakeholders, a member, couldn't perform, actually affect the rest in the ecosystem. We have a case where one of the company could not come to the office because the landlord wouldn't allow them to attend work because of the COVID case, and then cannot release documents to the customers on time. And these actually resulted in cargo blocked up in some of the part of the port, because people could not then take these documents to show up the port to take the delivery of the cargo. So these very simple things, but we are working and living in the same ecosystem. So contingency mindset and plan then would be very critical for the country in the future too, because we still see, as of now, still see some risk and also some challenge and happening to the port and in Lam Shabang, because there's still some COVID cases reported there. Speaking of opportunity, a lot of actually digital offerings and has been initiated since in 2019, and we see things are speeding up surprisingly, and these will become an ecosystem one day. Yesterday we were talking about the warehousing, we were talking about the trucking management system, we're talking about last mile. The major puzzle that link those product to the chain actually is container ships, and we haven't had any digital ecosystem in place yet, but we're working on it. And right now there are some initiatives and run by Maersk and IBM, and also then other shipping lines partners to form these in digital platform, and these will accelerate the digital innovation in the container industry that will facilitate the truly digital trade environment that and the speakers have earlier mentioned in previous session. The blockchain, the digital invoice, digital LC, it needs the ecosystem. It needs the bills of lading to be converted into digital form. And once that digital platform is in place, the whole world will evolve in another with a major leap again. Yeah. One new things that appear in the shipping industry is that we call the dynamic pricing. This is one of the breakthrough that many shipping lines are offering to the market. These work as if when you need to book the ticket with a low-cost airline. The price will be offered to the customer dynamically. Depends on how much space left. Depends on supply, demand, and that particular trade. So this one, instead of have an offline offering, the price that a customer can track from the internet, can look up into the shipping lines application, will be dynamic, and these could be adjusted up or down in matter an hour instead of being published on a weekly basis. And these actually will give a better visibility to the exporter importers as to how they would choose and pick the best carrier that fit with their requirements. So and the booking system also become more user friendly. All of these, and starting from looking up for your preferred price, looking up for your preferred products and cutoff time, and self-service booking, and at your fingertips on the mobile application is already there. And this is a huge conveniences and for the future for the millennials that who can actually work from anywhere, or any entrepreneur that want to work from while they were on vacation. It's just at their fingertips instead of a complicated website as in the past. Yeah. And as a fingertips now, and many shipping lines have already had this. And I would say that dynamic pricing will be even more beneficial in the futures. And as if when you want to book, airline, or you want to book in hotels, so it will be as easy for you to compare, not only price but also in terms of efficiency, in terms of services that you prefer. And this will only happen once you have a digital ecosystem in place, and these that's not only the concept, but actually is happening right now. Something that actually come faster than I thought, and I have been involved with these Threadlands and blockchain digital platforms since 2019, and we were talking to friends, colleagues, and in other companies about digital bills of lading, digital LC, digital ETO. Actually, this is now already available, and it is very user friendly at the moment. And during COVID, many customers have experienced the loss of document, particularly for bill of lading, where they courier with the courier company and get to this destination, but they cannot be delivered to the importers because the COVID and problems. But now all this problem will be gone. With the blockchain technology, this EBL will be offering a cheaper and more economical way how to handle these very old and traditional bills of lading paper, and this one will become a new norm and a new practice for this in future, for sure. And some of the customers have been using this for many months, and some of them have been sharing their good experience about this, that they find it very convenient and they find it very secure, and also they find it's also very economical. Bank, and also talking about it and having an ELC and how these can be hooked up in the same ecosystem. So logistic documents can go hand in hand with bank and with the trade documents, and also and the other kind of documents can be put in one package and send it over to the partners, the business partner, anywhere that you want, as long as you have internet and available. Another opportunities that I see, since we are talking about a huge disruption in the shipping business, and we're going for a digital legacy system in shipping lines, and then partners will be replaced with a better and faster IT capability. Something lacking behind actually is still with the manufacturers and also BCO and some part of in logistics chain. And if you want to make use of digital platform, it means a lot of documents in the productions, a lot of documents and published and handled by this BCO needs to be converted, needs to be digitalized, and needs to be reorganized. So and this major movement in shipping industry will trigger the need of the BCO and manufacturer to replace their legacy system in order to capitalize on these major moves that are coming up in the next couple of years. What we have seen also is it's a change in operation landscape. We have noticed the change in behavior of the customers. We have seen the change in behavior of our competitors, shipping line competitors. We have seen change in behavior of our vendors and truck suppliers. It is very drastic. The pattern that we never thought that would be applicable, never be possible. We just saw somebody try it. We see more effort, try to make things happen, try to simplify some process. There's some sample, like one of the customers and have their cargo discharged in Amsterdam and put it on truck and take the cargo from on truck to Myanmar instead of connecting with the feeder. We see some cargo move in truck and connect to the plane and come down to the sea again. So we see more and more multimodal arrangement in Asia, and we believe that these will trigger more trades with the cross border. And of course, you need a better framework how to ensure that these new solution or new alternatives actually works properly and can yet still provide reliability to the customers. So this means this allows more suppliers, allows players in the logistic and an integrator to combine several products in logistic to make things happen and track and traceable for the customers. Now, I think these will continue. Some of the companies will continue in this way and become choices for the customers. So where after COVID's over, maybe in 2022, you probably see one customers have choice of a transport more than 3 or 2. Some of the traditional ways that customer used to do. I see some of customer actually use more effort than the containers also. And last things, and I think it's very critical and very strategic for the country itself. Earlier this year, we were asked and by many stakeholders whether as to how we can stabilize the ocean freight and the service reliability, because of people have been complaining about delay in shipments, everything. So one options we came up and discussed with Shipper Association and Chambers of Commerce that and how we can bring more larger ships into Amsterdam based on the fact that this year our export volume total Thailand actually has exceeded 2018 level. So we're going back into a growth mode again, and we see new investors bringing in new industry into Lam Chabang area in the Eastern Seaboard or EEC, and this requires larger space. Require more containers to be prepared for shippers, and also these kind of ships that you see in the photo right now is one of the largest ships in the world, with the length up to 399 meters, and one of the largest ever called Lam Chabang that Maersk has brought in this year after have been got help from Ministry of Commerce and also Marine Department to simplify the rules of accommodating these large ships. So we brought one of these into Thailand. So one time that also bring in 10,000 plus TEUs of empty boxes to help exporters. But these kind of ships berth in Lam Chabang more than 5 days, 3 or 5 days. So it is a new scale that we'll see in Thailand, that that takes a longer time to discharge a load. And these kind of ships, once it's berthed in USA, actually stays there for a week. And this require new skills, and these require an upgrades from end to end in the logistics chains, not only from the port, but how we manage trucks and everything. And in order for the shipping industry to bring more these kind of ships and more frequency for a stable logistic costs also for our export importers, and we need to look into how we can make Lam Chabang one of the transshipment choice in this region, and this is something that we are discussing with the government at the moment. This opportunity actually is very critical, and we need to make it happen soon as I personally hope that we can make this happen with this 1 year. So once we recover faster next year, after people have been vaccinated and people get immune, you need this kind of frequency, more and more service calling to Lam Chabang. We need larger ships, otherwise we will be hit the bottleneck of our container supply chain for sure. Khun Macha, that's pretty much what I see, and I bring forward from my viewpoint on particularly on hardware, because I think it's this is from my view, this is totally a bottleneck, physical bottleneck for our logistics and out of Thailand. Also, not only Thailand, but in terms of supporting Laos, Myanmar, and also Cambodia, and also even South China that probably can make use of this facility, Lam Chabang, and of course to bring in an extra revenue for logistics suppliers in Thailand, in this region, that will for sure more inland and cross-border transportation that we'll see in years to come.
Right. So thank you very much, Mr. Piset, that your presentation about the challenge and the opportunities. And of course, with the last slide, I love that mega chip because it's kind of like provide more opportunity and challenge for the Lam Chabang. And so that's why this is a question related to that. How transshipment at Lam Chabang port would be a strategic plan for Thailand and the CLMV?
When the shipping company decided to bring in big ships, which of course mean more space for the customers, and also I would say better price from exporter point of view, because there's more competition, right? One of the option that this shipping company would also consider is that whether the port allow transshipment to happen. In Thai context, in terms of rules and regulations, there are things that we need to simplify, because I think the rules and regulation when they were set, they didn't take into account of these transshipment activity in the port. The rules and regulations were so concerned about smuggling, which is applicable, of course, and there's a chance when it comes to cross-border bringing containers from Laos or Cambodia, Myanmar to Thailand. But transshipment, as I say here, it means only within the same port, without having the box out. And it's the same as when passenger come to Suvarnabhumi and connects the next connecting flight. So you're actually passenger very safe and no chance of smuggling of anything at all. So these containers, once it's shot from these big ships, it wants to connect to another ships. When these happen, it means shipping lines will bring more frequency, more services in. So imagine if you are standing in if you are in Suvarnabhumi, there are more choice of planes and more choice of flights that's been picked on.
Right.
Instead of being in other smaller airports. So when these big ships come in and more flat in terms of operation, actually will help stabilize better utilization of resource-related containers, and also more choice for importers to choose. And of course, the price will go down and more space.
So according to your answer is that, so it will help in terms of the cost reduction for the Thai export?
It will. Yep. Right. Definitely will. Not only for the exporters, because it will help shipping lines well, and will help Lamsha Bank to be more, back on the global radar screen again as a regional hub, as one of professional hub, container hub in the world.
Right. Do you think that this is going to be strengthen our competitiveness for Thai exporter importer?
Definitely. Definitely, as I said, right, and then the volume of containers export right now have exceeded 2018. And what we're seeing right now in Lamsha Bank, traffic jam, people queuing up and picking up containers, importers waiting for containers from Singapore to be delivered in Lamsha Bank, and we don't have ships to bring those containers from Singapore, Malaysia into Lamsha Bank because waiting to be transshipped there, and waiting for us in some cases waiting for a couple of days. Some of the importers are waiting for a month for space of incoming. So if some of this ship, instead of tranship in those port and waiting for a couple of days, they could have diverted to Lamsha Bank and bring those containers straight to our exporters.
Right.
And if your EEC project is up and running, right now we don't have space left. We don't have any infrastructure left for the growth really, unless you simplify this for shipping lines to make use of this, then providing your capacity and also reliability.
Right. So come to the last question. How can we utilize this port in terms of competition and collaboration with the neighboring kind of like that?
Yep. We have discussed in some forums. A digital platform is coming up, right? So that's about. It's already there. People are converting information into digitals, and the trades will be running, driven by this practice in the future. The port is the hardware,
right,
that needs to prepare for this. Banks are talking about in the digital offerings, but our port is not there yet. Our port's now having two challenges. First, the rules that the ports needs to discuss with the government, that some rule needs to be simplified, and then need to think about end-to-end, because the supply chain is not about a port itself, it's about container depots, about trucks, service providers, and they are connected with the information, which is some part that already digitalized. So speaking of these logistics and collaboration, it span all the way up to the manufacturers. As I said, the legacy system in the manufacturer needs to be replaced, needs to be enhanced, needs to be improved. And then the warehousing, you have to see, as some of these speakers already mentioned, that technology is already there. So how these can be connected? Because outside the ports, people are connecting, but inside the port and the rules, and still some gaps that needs to be looked at seriously, and needs to be jointly looked at by several government departments, just to make it simple and similar to any transshipment port like in Malaysia, Singapore is doing.
Right. Oh.
So that collaboration will be there, because no worry, the trade people will just make it happen, because all the tools are available. It's just matter of, from the government segment, how they facilitate the trade rather than over control it, put that way.
Right. Great. So thank you very much for Mr. Piset, Rittapirom, Cluster Manager from Maersk Thailand, for your time and contribution. Also hope to see you again and stay tuned and stay healthy. Thank you. Bye bye.
ครับสวัสดีครับขอบคุณครับ
สวัสดีครับ